Welcome everyone to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. It's a great pleasure as always to be joined today by Brigadier General Amir Avivi. General, thank you so much for sitting with me.
My pleasure.
General, as always, there's a lot going on, and of course, there's big news about a return of a certain hostage. So what can you share with us?
So today, big event, the body of Hadar Goldin was kidnapped in 2015 in Operation Protective Edge, was returned to Israel. His family has waited for many, many years for this moment. And there is basically a lot of excitement in Israel. We are left with 4 remaining hostages who are not alive. One of them is Thai and 3 Israelis. So it looks that we're getting closer to the moment where all the hostages will be back. But as this is happening, Hamas, unfortunately, is regrouping, is planning attacks on our soldiers along the yellow line. Hamas is deployed pretty close to where the soldiers are, so our soldiers need to be in very high alert. We will not be able to wait forever until the U.S. Creates a coalition to dismantle Hamas, and to, if we say it frankly, the chances that any coalition will be able to deal with Hamas are almost not existent. Already Jordan, Egypt, other countries said they are not going to fight Hamas. They're not going to go in and force them to dismantle. So it's up to us to do it. And the big question is, when will the US say, okay, that's it? Hamas has no intention to lay down their weapons, and we need to deal with this by ourselves. This moment will come. The question is when. And at the moment, it seems that the US is more focused on really building this alliance, expanding the Abraham Accords. We have heard the last day Saudi Arabia mentioning that they're going to normalize relations. We've seen Trump's plan to the Far East, Trump's visit in Malaysia and the Far East. And this week, they announced that there's going to be normalization with Kazakhstan, meaning they're joining the Abraham Accords. And what does it mean? I mean, we have had relations with Kazakhstan since the 90s. I myself met with the Kazakh ambassador more than once. He's very engaged with IDSF. So what does it mean that they are joining the Abraham Accords? I mean, we have normalization with them. So the answer is that joining the Abraham Accords is not just about normalizing relations with Israel. It's about joining an alliance. It's about joining a military alliance, an economical alliance, joining our side with the US, countering China, Russia, Iran. The Kazakhs are on the Russian border. They're also close to Iran. They have a lot of natural resources. So having them join the Abraham Accords is a very important step. We're talking also about Azerbaijan. Israel has great relations with Azerbaijan, but we need them also in this alliance on our side, on the American side. And this is part of the process. So America is building this coalition and getting ready for normalizing relations with countries we don't have a normalization yet. But we need to also dismantle Hamas. The IDF is preparing plans, training, taking care of the equipment, and we'll see when this will happen. And as we are waiting to see the developments and getting our remaining hostages, the IDF has enhanced dramatically the attacks on Hezbollah again and again. Every day, Hezbollah is being degraded with the intent to dismantle this organization. The U.S. wants to do it by the end of the year with the Lebanese government. I am not sure the Lebanese government has the ability. Maybe they have the motivation, but not the ability to do it. So at the moment, it's up to Israel to degrade them more and more, and this is what Israel is doing at the moment in Lebanon. And while we're operating there, we see big growth in the activities along the Egyptian border and the Jordanian border. Iranians are trying to smuggle advanced weapons all the time through the Jordanian border, and we're trying to reinforce this border, bring more forces. We deployed a new division 96, along the border. But the technologies we have along the Jordanian border are not as advanced as in other borders. On the Egyptian border, we see all the time drones coming in, bringing weapons to the Negev. This week there was a meeting with the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Staff, and they decided they are going to stop this phenomena and bring more technologies and capabilities. We heard just yesterday they apprehended one of these drones with 3 rifles on it. So the challenge continues, and we hear about this smuggling in Egypt because we have a lot of sensors that can monitor that. On the Jordanian border, we hear it less, and not because it's not happening at the same extent. It's because we don't have the means to detect it the way we do on the Egyptian border. And this is something we really need to take care of. It's really troubling that we see so many weapons moving from Egypt and from Jordan into Judean Samaria, into the Negev desert, into the hands of Bedouins and Palestinians. Something that needs to stop. They are also smuggling to Gaza with drones through Israel from Egypt. It's also a phenomenon that we're dealing with, and they are not able to use tunnels. We are on Philadelphia and Rafah, but they are using drones that are landing in Gaza and bringing munitions and capabilities to Hamas. We'll have to deal with this at a certain point. The question is when, and it's up to the government to work closely with the administration and put clear red lines when we're stopping the buildup of Hamas that we see as we speak.
General, thank you for all of that. There is a report in the New York Times, take that for what you want, that Iran is planning another imminent attack on Israel. And at the same time, we know, of course, that Iran is suffering an imminent water crisis. So what can you share with us about what's really, really happening with Iran right now?
So the Iranians, they're trying to rebuild back capabilities. Israel and the US are monitoring very, very closely what the Iranians are doing. On one hand, they talk a lot and they try to renew a bit of the capabilities, but they're also deterred. I understand that they're monitored and they might experience an attack. They don't have the air defense to deal with this. If Israel decides to attack, we can do it, and we can inflict serious damage on them. The IDF is preparing, training, and preparing for a possible attack on Iran, and also the US is threatening Iran that if they go back to producing ballistic missiles or to the nuclear plants, the US will also attack. So at the moment, this is monitored, and yes, they are suffering from a huge crisis of water. Some estimate that in a few weeks there will be no water in Tehran at all. I don't know how they are going to deal with this. They have no capability to fix this in the short term. So it looks like they're going to a very serious crisis. And we have to remember that also sanctions were imposed on them again. There was a snapback from the JCPOA by Europe. So they're also suffering economically, and we'll have to see where this is going. But we're monitoring this very, very closely.
And domestic problems within Iran in a drought, water crisis, does this push Iran to give up or put on hold their ambitions for nuclear armaments and missiles, or does it expedite it, right? What does it actually accomplish in terms of the war with Israel?
This regime will never give up nuclear capabilities and will never give up destroying Israel. And therefore, the only long-term solution is to get rid of this evil regime. But they have to deal with complicated issues internally. We have to remember that 50% of Iran are not Persian. There are 25% Azeris, which are same people as Azerbaijan. They are very dominant in Iran. We have Kurds, we have Baluchis, we have Arabs, and even among the Persians, many don't support this regime. So when the economical situation is so dire, and when they have a reality where in the last 5 years there is no rain in Iran almost at all the reservoirs are almost empty. We'll definitely see big things happening in Iran, and we'll have to follow closely and we'll see how these things develop. And it'll be interesting to see.
And the Syrian president is in the US right now, preparing for a meeting with President Trump and playing basketball in the US as if he's just like one of the guys. What are the implications of all of this for Israel's relationship with the US and our conflict with Syria?
So as I mentioned, the US is really, really trying to get all the countries in the region to join this coalition, this alliance, and trying to find a way to normalize relations with Syria. I must say I'm a bit skeptical because at the end of the day, Ashara Julani, he controls only 40% of Syria. Syria is not a real country. There are whole areas that are controlled by the Kurds, and there is the area controlled by the Druze, and then you have the Alawi area. Even inside the area Ashara operates, there are different forces challenging him. In Syria, like in Iran, there is a very serious problem of water, and they are thinking about seeking help from Israel in order to solve their problems of gas, of water, food. So this is why they're trying to find their way to some kind of normalization or at least a security agreement. Israel red lines are very clear. We're going to stay on the top of the Hermon mountain. We want the whole south of Syria to be completely demilitarized from Damascus all the way to Israeli border. And we're not going to allow any forces to endanger the Druze. And we see them as allies of Israel. And if we can get all our demands met, then maybe there will be some kind of formal ceasefire or agreement. I'm not sure there will be a full normalization, but we'll see. We'll see what happens following this visit.
And if we can change topics to what's happening right now in New York with the new mayor who will be taking office, suggesting that he would divest city contracts with companies that do business with Israel. I'm curious to know your thoughts on that and potentially what Israel is looking forward to, not just with New York, but other cities, states, or even the US in terms of business relationships and dependence on these contracts in the US.
I think that what happened in New York is going to empower many more Muslims to, push forward and try to win elections in different places in the US. It certainly empowered the whole Muslim world. New York is a symbol. It's the biggest city in the US, and having a Shia Muslim running it, it's really a huge change and a big blow to what America is supposed to be. At the end of the day, he's going to push his Muslim agendas, and this is going to impact. It's going to impact not only New York, but many other places. I think the situation in New York itself is going to change very, very fast. And I'm sure there are many who are considering living or are living as we speak. The city, it's a sad moment. It's a moment that signalizes to the Jews, even in the US, not just in Europe, that times are changing. Anti-Semitism will continue to rise dramatically. We're always here, very optimistic when we talk about Israel and the future. We speak in terms of a golden age that is going to come after this war, and how Israel is going to thrive and prosper and be much more secure. But as Israel is getting stronger and stronger, I think the challenges in the diaspora are getting bigger and bigger. And in this sense, I'm not optimistic, and I'm not sure we have the tools to stop it. What we need to be focusing on is really facilitating much, much more, making Aliyah. The government, by the way, in the last week passed a law regarding tax, making it, easier for people to make Aliyah, talking about lower taxes. But there is much more to do to really facilitate. And you know that you made Aliyah, you know how bureaucratic it is and how complicated it is. Shouldn't be like that. And also, the Israeli government will have to really build plans, much more elaborate plans, how to defend Jewish communities around the world.
General, do you think that your approach is unique within Israel? Do you think the government really understands that Israel needs to make a more proactive attempt to rescue, to save, to take care of Jews abroad? I mean, are you unique, or will we see more of the government, more of Israel, really looking out for world Jewry?
I think the main problem is that we're always like 5-10 years late in understanding what's happening, and we need to be much faster. We need to be much more connected to reality and see things as they are. We see these gaps looking at the challenges inside Israel. We see it when we talk about anti-Semitism. We saw it for the 7th of October, understanding the challenges along our borders. Things are changing fast. We need to evaluate them much faster and adapt to the realities that are developing. I think we see a beginning of understanding that things are changing and we need to deal with this. We need to move faster, much faster.
I want to thank all of our viewers for bearing with us this week as we have a little bit of a different schedule. We are traveling and trying to bring you briefings as we can. And it's wonderful to see all of our supporters, our friends in Florida and elsewhere as we travel throughout the U.S. General, let me ask one more question, then we'll end the briefing for today. The remarkable return of Hadar Goldin's body is really so important and meaningful. And it just represents this challenge that on the one hand, Israel for years and years was not willing to negotiate beyond a certain point for the release of his body. But at the same time, throughout this war, we have seen Israel, of course, willing to give up a lot in order to return its hostages. And I'm curious, as these final hostages, their bodies are being returned to Israel, what do you think moving forward will be the attitude of the state in terms of hostage negotiation? Are we going to continue this Gilad Shalit in this current war methodology of giving a lot, or will it be more limited in terms of the approach to Hadar Goldin's release over these years? What do you think we can anticipate seeing?
I think the first thing we need to do is make sure we don't have terror armies on our borders. I mean, the reality where we had, Hamas with all its capabilities, and going in and trying to bring Hadar would have meant, a full-scale war. This made things very, very complicated. We need overriding security responsibility over all the land of Israel. We need freedom of operation everywhere. We need to reach any point in the land of Israel and really be able to operate in a way that first degrades systematically our enemies, but also prevents these events. And if they happen, go in and and get our people back and not have to release hundreds or thousands of terrorists. We have dealt with a very, very complex situation. 251 hostages. It's unprecedented. I think it's amazing that we're at a stage where almost all of them are back. And I believe and I hope we'll see the last 4 hostages coming back. But once they do, we need to go in and we need to destroy Hamas. We need to destroy this organization. We need to demilitarize completely the Gaza Strip and really kill any motivation or ability to deal with us again and keep this forever. We cannot have these terror armies on our borders, not now and not ever.
Brigadier General Amir Avivi, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Thank you for your leadership throughout this war. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing. We will try our best to be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. in Israel. And make sure to check out our emails to get the latest in terms of these briefings. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.